the 4th of November, Football Manager 26 finally will be coming out. 2 weeks before that, roughly, we will be able to play early access. So I've sat down with my podcast co-host Colin to have a look through the latest news, just give our thoughts and opinions on it. Let's head over to the Dream Team talking about FM26. So firstly, Colin, thank you for stepping away from the podcast world to join me on what basically is a podcast talk as we discuss the latest Football Manager changes.
Absolutely. Here and happy to finally be talking about some positive news in the next generation of Football Manager.
I really considered making a promise with each other at the start of this podcast episode that we're not going to speak negative about anything. So we'll give it a go. But I've seen a few people release videos. Yeah, I mean we just got to do what we do. I've seen a few people release videos of the new UI, women's football, etc. But I didn't feel I had a place there to release a video at the time in terms of I didn't have that urge yet to jump back in, but I kind of thought, you know what, this is a really good way to jump back in if we sit down together and talk about it.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I think, independently, I'm not sure if I had anything that I would define as a unique thought at the time, but I think now that we've seen a little bit more, I think it's worth talking, and I think we've got some opinions, so I think it's worth sharing.
So if we look at the user interface first, Colin, which basically is our visual pleasure of looking at Football Manager, there's been some big changes, and we've gone back in time, shall we say, with the first bullet point I made, which is the fact that the bar runs along the top again now. I did like the old ones when it was like that, so I'm kind of pleased it's gone back, but at the same time, you kind of get used to it being along the side. But how many skins have you seen recently, Colin, where they try to cut out the text on the side to just give you that wider screen? So I guess from you as a designer type person, you would probably like it moving back up top.
I like it. I think it's funny that this feels like it's the every 4 years Football Manager just does beep, 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 and just moves it back and forth. So we were due up from. I'm with you. I think it looks cleaner to me across the top. I think it opens things up a little bit. I don't mind the look of the UI. I think, and I think this was really important in the article or the interview that Miles gave about why they didn't go with FM25. And it, to me, it has to be easy, right? The reason that we all sit down and play it is it's really easy to get to your squad, take a look at training, get to the game, play the game, look at it, and rinse and repeat, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want this to be difficult. I don't want to spend time finding things. I don't want to bang my head against the wall. Oh, I need to look at this. Where is this? Oh, what about this? I should fix this. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I want to click through the stupid inbox and get rid of the messages that I'm never going to read anyway. I want to move to where I need to move, and I want to just play the games. So
you've actually said something as do you know what? I'm being so professional today. I'm marking off things we talked about. But you said something quite interesting there, which shows the difference between us two. The person who creates YouTube content and the person who does the podcast. Because I'm hoping it's quite difficult, Colin, because that then gives the ability to make some guide videos. Where you're like, no, I don't want any of that crap. Just get me into the game and let me play it. You mentioned something there.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned about messages. And I actually made a bullet point about messages for this conversation tonight because I saw on the video, and I hope it's just the fact that they kind of zoomed on specific what they called, what are these new Pacific cards, and they had one card on the screen, so I hope that's the reason. But it looked like when you click on a message, a card pops up with that message, and I think that will be the worst development from FM14 to FM24 to FM26, if that's the case, because that means more clicking. If you click on a message, you don't want it to open on another window because then you've got to close that window to go back to the messages. So I'm hoping it was just because of the way they were promoting bits of it, but I don't know what you thought of that, Colin, if you're along the same lines that it might mean extra clicks.
And I don't want that. And I will say I am genuinely worried of that genuine concern of having to dig to find things, right? Like that bothered me so much when Miles said, "Well, I was playing it and I couldn't find my youth squad," and I'm like, I mean, okay, fine. Like his exact point was a little neither here or there, but it tells you that there's a new design philosophy underneath it, and what I'm worried about is how well is it focused and how well is it designed so that you don't have to go hunting. And we've talked at some length the difference between um like console players and like PC players, and how much is the UI in that redesigned to make console players' lives faster and easier, and it makes and like and it just the trade-off makes our lives harder, as
Mm.
it were.
Well, I saw that, for example, on the match day drop down, it showed that the league table was there, and I did wonder to myself, I hope that league table is also in the portal drop down, because it makes more sense to me that would be in the first drop down and not match day, because the league table has nothing to do with the match day. It's more to do with general information. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where stuff is, and hopefully some things are difficult, so I can make a couple of videos about it. Um, so
I mean, on that front, I'm hopeful that as part of this move and some of the corrections that they've adjusted and fixed some of the key components of the game so that there's some more interesting opportunity there, right? I mean, like everybody's going to do, and there's going to be that cut, and I don't mean to disparage, the comment, the YouTube content side of the
throw
what
it at me.
leagues, what is the best players, who has the best YouTube, who has the best youth academies, who's the best,
Mm,
fallen giants, all that kind of stuff. But what I am hoping is that areas of the game that have been stale, right? Like tactical systems, styles, right? Like for the last how many years has it been like, hey, here's yet another variation of a 4-3-3, or here's how to make an ultra aggressive, shove everybody up front and go,
mm,
and that's how you win. And as soon as you do that, like the game becomes kind of run of the mill. I'm really hoping that there's a lot more nuance, fluidity, where, you can solve the tactical engine in multiple ways that
yeah.
in the historic game hasn't been viable.
Well, I did see on one of the bits where they switch through the tactics page, I did see that there was two pictures there, and I saw some people mentioning on X that they were hoping that meant there was an out of possession in possession tactic. Um, it's going to be interesting to see. I always feel like there's only so far you can go before you can basically crack the computer. The computer's not. You would assume that it doesn't have infinite ways of adjusting around you, but then at the same time with AI and stuff these days, you would kind of hope it's getting to that point where you can't just plug in three strikers and the computer goes, well, I can't fix that. So it's going to be interesting to
Mhm.
see how they get around that. What's your opinion on these the portal and the cards? Are we just looking at it as basically a new skin? Is that all the way you look at it?
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. I mean, yeah, that's kind
It
of it. It's
looks
just a
clean.
skin.
It looks clean.
Yeah,
Like,
no objection. It's fine. It's I mean, how much you can edit it and adjust it. You know, Again, to your point, it's a skin, right? I mean,
yeah.
and if they've made it a good, flexible skin, great. If they haven't, it's better. It's better than what we've had in
Yeah,
kind of historically. So no moral objection, but it's not making or breaking anything for me.
no. as long as the match day ability in between highlights can be adjusted, I actually think it could be one of the few years where I don't download a skin. But it's very
Mm.
much on how much you can adjust on your view and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. I did notice in the top right corner when they go on the portal or in general pages, you can have bookmarks now, which I'm saying now, it blows my mind that in 2025, this is something we're bragging about, that bookmarks is available. But at the same time, it's fantastic to have because on the skins I download, we always have bookmarks in the bottom left corner. They're going to be in the top right
Yeah.
corner now, but either way, bookmarks are very nice to get to the club coefficients and stuff, which is what I use it for.
Same. Yeah, it's finally catching up to some of the key stuff that some of those key features in skins that we've been wanting for that
Yeah.
we've had that yeah, it's just playing catch up
How are we so
on that
excited about
space.
bookmarks? It's bad, isn't
It's
it?
the little
It's
things.
bad, isn't it? But at the same
It
time, it
is.
shows that they don't have to be groundbreaking. They just have to.
Mm-mm.
They almost. Do you know what? Football Manager almost just has to download skins each year and go, "Wow, that's a really good idea. We should do that." And it blows my mind that took them this long doing. The
Yeah.
player view, Colin, within this new UI,
Mm.
I noticed, for example, set pieces are now separate on the attribute. So on the
Yeah.
left hand list, you had penalty taken, throw-ins, free kicks, and corners um, were separate, and I think that's nice to have them. It's going to bug me a little bit to start, just because you're used to attributes being in a specific place, but having them separate, I think, is a great little. Again, is it just a skin, or is that? Can you skin that? I guess you can't. Can you?
I don't think in previous versions you can. But I think in this one, I think, yeah, it's just reorganizing things. And
Yeah,
again, it's just going
yeah.
to take some time to get a better sense of how things
Hmm.
are laid out. I think, is it good? Is it bad?
One thing I did notice is your
You
left
have to
and
see.
the left and right foot bar. Um, it's six blocks takes you from weak to very strong. I can't work out why it's 6 blocks because 4 blocks would be a 25%, 50% good. 5 blocks would be 20% at left foot, where 80%, 100%. What are we doing with 6 blocks? I don't quite understand what this even is.
I don't know.
No,
It's
I,
weird.
I looked at it. And I'm like, 6 blocks makes absolutely no sense. Um,
Yeah.
there's my FM view picks. I liked everything else. I liked the set pieces. I just didn't understand the 6 bars for the foots. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And it
I'm
sounds.
hoping that there's more logic that we haven't seen in it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the most stupid thing to bring up, but it's just I don't get it. I don't get it. Something which was announced, Colin, FMpedia. FMpedia. I'm guessing that's how you like
Hmm.
Wikipedia, I guess. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, it's nice if they've added a tutorial in, which is actually useful because the other one was just annoying as hell. Um, it's nice if it works. It's nice if it helps. I don't know what else I can say about that, Colin.
I mean, it's nice, and I don't know, in the 14 years I've been playing it, that they finally decided to take how the hell some of this stuff works seriously.
I
So,
mean, they had the
A
tutorial.
for effort.
They had the tutorial before, didn't they? But it was very irritating when it would just randomly pop up on your new save, or randomly when you reset preferences, your tutorial would tell you how to make a transfer, and you're like, just get lost, man. I'm trying to bid on this player.
I've had that disabled out of the get go. So I
Me
hope it's
too, and it still
useful.
keeps popping up.
Yeah, I hope it's useful. I hope it's, at the end of the day, it's going to be all dependent on the kind of material that's in there. And is it
Yeah,
really going to supplant the wider community level information that comes up? Probably not.
yeah, it's not even going to get
I
close to the quality of my
yeah.
guides and stuff.
There you go. I mean, I on some level, I think that may be a bit of a cheap shot that they're taking there in terms of like, hey, we're trying to integrate more of all of this information so people stay more inside of our ecosystem than going out. But at the end of the day, I think they're so far behind with all of that that
Hmm.
it's probably not possible.
Yeah. Also, they have released a graphics video showing the new match engine, showing new stadiums for lower leagues. I thought the new stadiums looked really nice. I can't complain at them one bit. I think it looks very nice. One thing I did notice is they still have the 100-seater bench. Um, so I saw in the lower league pitch where it shows the crowd coming out. Stadium looked great. Sorry, where the teams were coming out, they looked great. But there was about 1,000 seats and 4 substitutes. So I'm glad to see they've learned that. Just something I think it was like 2 years ago that got brought up about how they're doing crazy sized benches, and they still have it. Um, what's your thoughts on
Yeah.
the match engine from the big reveal video? Are you pleased? That just looks a little bit more crisp, smooth.
It looks like it should have looked 5 years ago, 8 years ago. I mean, it's certainly an enormous leap forward from what we were dealing with. Is it revolutionary in any meaningful? Is it the Unreal Engine 5 looking like we're watching 4K, live football? No,
Not quite.
but it looks better, right?
Yeah.
Like it's cleaner, it's nicer, it's better. Again, some of it looks just skinned from skins that have been out there in terms of the graphics and the overlays and things like that. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see more stadium variety in that. I'm curious what they'll do with it as they move forward. But like, yeah, it looks like no objection. They spent a lot of time. It looks better. Um, was it worth was it worth all missing a year and all the trouble that it's caused? Like I'm not sure it looks that much better, but it's better.
Definitely
Yeah,
does not that much
like
better.
it's it's yeah, like it's better. Fair enough. Objectively, it is an improved visual experience than the prior iteration.
Hmm.
I will concede that.
I think we're on the same boat where it's fantastic to upgrade the graphics, but at the same time, I would rather it just worked perfectly in terms of what it's
Hmm.
trying to what the graphics are trying to visualize. I would rather that when your player is running down the wing and he puts a cross in, it's deflected or something. I'd rather it just that happened instead of it just randomly disappearing and not bouncing near a player. It's nice, it's better, but I just kind of want the game to be the best it can be in terms of how it actually plays. So moving
Yeah.
on, Colin, to the final topic, which is women's football.
Mhm.
14 leagues, 11 nations, 41,000 players, or people, sorry, staff as well. Mixed with men and women's football, so you can jump between worlds. 20 finishing is measured depending on other women, not compared to men. So when you see a lady with 20 finishing, we can't be going on X complaining that she's not as good as Messi, for example, at finishing, because it's based compared to their own universe. Me and you've discussed this before. It's great that women's football's come into the game. For me personally, I would think I wouldn't do a long-term save in women's football because I don't have that burning desire to do it. But I think in a journeyman, I think it would be really cool to jump between the men and women's game.
Mm.
I just think it's a long overdue addition. It's for me. I would compare it to, for example, uh, the Chinese league. It's nice to have the Chinese league in. I'm not going to play it, but some people love to play it. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um,
No, I think it makes total sense.
But I think to get 14 leagues and 11 nations on the first launch of this, 41,000 people have been rated and added all of their information in. I think it's a huge leap from Sports Interactive.
Yeah, I think it's a good ad, right? If we're going to have a simulation of the world of football, it is an important part of the world of football,
Hmm.
and it's a growing part of the world of football. So no objection, no issue on that. And I'm glad that they took the time to be thoughtful about how they did it, right? So like
Mm,
exactly what you said, right? Ratings are amongst themselves as opposed to comparatively in there, right? I think they were thoughtful in how they entered it.
mm,
Is it a key feature of the game that I'm like, oh god, if I got to get out there and play it? I'm with you. I will poke around. I'm curious about it. I'm interested to see how it differs from the other side, from the men's game. I'm
mm,
curious to see how things are different, how it evolves. Do I want to sit down and say, "Oh, I want to do a long haul save for, you know, some piece of it"? Probably not. I think it's and until we see it, it's hard to tell. I mean, the kinds of saves that I enjoy playing in the game, I'm not sure exist there yet.
no.
Right? Like starting in some godforsaken tier in um in some part of Europe and then navigating your way all the way up to being a
Mm,
Champions League winner, right? I mean, most of the leagues are only a couple of are only a couple of divisions in and of themselves. So like conceptually the stuff is there. It just doesn't have the
doesn't have the
long-term
depth.
strategic depth that I go after. I think it's going to absolutely find a home. I think it's going to be good for getting more people introduced, having more people playing. So I think it's a good ad. Is it a compelling feature for me? No, but I'm glad that they put it in.
I'm looking forward to probably monitoring it in a way where when I start my first long term save, I want to try to embrace the universe more and actually in videos look at how
Mhm.
different leagues have been doing and stuff. So it's going to be a save in England, so I can have the English Women's League active as well and see how they are doing. So that is
Sure.
something I'm definitely going to be doing. But like I said, maybe at some point in FM 26, a journeyman will happen, and I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say I'm definitely jumping over it. To be honest, it's
Mhm.
it's that affiliation. Like I coached in women's football for my local side here in Norway. If that league was in the game, I'd have that affiliation, and I'd probably have more
Sure.
interest in jumping into it. Where the affiliation of women's football in England, I've seen a handful of games at most. My affiliation to football in the US women's football, I've never even seen it. Never once have I seen it. So I don't have that affiliation, and I think that's what Football Manager can bring. That Colin, there's clubs around the
Mhm.
world who you've never watched in real life, but you have an affiliation to them because you managed them in Football Manager 10 years ago. So maybe in 10
Sure.
years' time, we're going to be looking back at women's football and going, my God, that made me be linked to London City, who were in the top flight in the women's football in England, for example. You never know. You never know. So I think
Yeah.
it's going
No,
to be
and I think that's a
interesting.
good point. No, I think it's a good point, right? Because like even my end, right, outside of the national team level, right? Like, yeah, fair enough. I know the NWSL here exists, but I I don't think I've ever watched a game
No.
um in it. So, to your point, like seeing a little bit more, being able to, just watch along, see what's there, find something. I'm curious. I'm also curious, depending on how modding and things like that works, like how it develops, and then does something appear at some point that becomes intellectually sort of interesting, right? Taking some super tiny side out of nowhere and bringing them to
Mm.
you know a San Marino version of the equivalent, or something of that nature in there. I think we'll have to see. I think it's good. It's interesting. I'm curious. To your point, it'll be interesting to see how the whole engine handles it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how things evolve. I mean, obviously, in the game right now, there's a shift. Historically, it was a very U.S. centric place, especially from the collegiate system. Now that the Premier League teams and Serie A and Spain and Germany, France, and that are all getting into the mix with women's sides. I'm curious to see how both in real life and even in
Mm.
the FM world. What starts to happen, especially at an international level,
I know the
with
Norwegian
bigger
side's doing
clubs.
quite. The Norwegian side I know is doing quite good internationally. They definitely improving. The Swedish side as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Mhm.
But no, that's us caught up on what's been coming out so far on FM26. So I want to thank you for helping me put a video together, Colin. Very much appreciated.
Always.
And we'll be back actually next week with our first proper podcast episode where we will just sit down and chat along, and we potentially have a guest.
Okay.
I can't confirm it. But I can tell you he's old and American.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Not sure I can call him old, but he's definitely got grey hair. I'll see you next time.